Well, although we have been seeing a slight decline in COVID cases here locally, children are still contracting the virus at a higher rate, and the long-term effects could have some serious consequences.
Yeah, joining us now to get to the bottom line of some of these concerns, McLean Children's Hospital Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Dominic Lucia. Hello, doctor. Welcome in today. Great having you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now, we have known that adults can have long hauler COVID, as it's called, but are children capable of developing it as well? And is it the same experience for them as the adults experience?
It absolutely is, Chris. We've seen kids with long hauler COVID significantly in the research, from 13 to 15% of kids that had original COVID having those long hauler COVID symptoms. The early research indicates that it is, and we're seeing it in the Central Texas community.
And so what are those long-term symptoms for children when they get long hauler COVID?
Yeah, it's incredibly varied and sometimes difficult to recognize, but it's similar to the adults. You can certainly have the loss of taste and smell, but you also can get the fatigue, the headache, the cough, the chest pain, all lasting 5 weeks after the original COVID incident. You can even have depression and anxiety in these kids from the COVID.
Now, doctor, we're told that there's a condition called Multisystem Inflammatory Syndrome, or MISC for short. And is it affecting children who have tested positive for COVID, or perhaps didn't even know that they had COVID?
Yeah, that's the tricky thing. We aren't sure why it happens, but MISC is a disease process that appears to be children's immune systems overreacting to COVID 2 to 3 weeks after the initial infection. They get multiple symptoms. They get prolonged fever, rash. It can mimic toxic shock syndrome, Kawasaki's disease, and even septic shock. And while it's extremely rare, those kids that get it often end up very sick and hospitalized for a prolonged period of time.
And are you seeing those kids here in Central Texas?
We absolutely are seeing those kids here in Central Texas. I talked to our local pediatric infectious disease experts at McLean Children's. They told me in the last 18 months we've had 35 kids with MISC here in Bell County.
Okay, doctor, of course, now kids can get vaccinated when they're teenagers. So is the 12 to 17-year-old age group as well at risk of contracting MISC after being vaccinated, or is it prevented once you get the vaccine?
Yeah, the vaccination is really our best tool for preventing all of the sequelae of COVID, and that includes MISC and the initial sickness that results from it. And you can't get MISC from the COVID vaccine. Completely different response, a milder response from your immune system. So to protect your kids from MISC and long hauler COVID, getting that 12 to 17-year-old age group vaccinated is going to be key.
All right, Dr. Dominic Lucia, thank you so much. You're a fountain of information today. Answered all of our questions we threw at you there real quick, and you were right on the ball. Thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
Bye-bye.